So I am going to record this and let me get started with another welcome. Howdy. So delighted you could join us. I'm Andrea Miller, and welcome to the Center for Common Ground board update. Now, the Center for Common Ground, we're in Virginia. We're 501c3, so that means we are nonpartisan in all the work that we do. And we have a very simple mission, and that is we want to empower underrepresented voters. And we have a number of campaigns that do exactly that. Most of you are part of our Reclaim Our Vote campaign, and you've sent postcards, you're making phone calls, you've sent text messages to voters in our target states. And right now we're working on Georgia. We run a bigger, more overarching campaign, the Let Me Vote, Count My Vote campaign. So I'll be talking a little bit about C-State 2020 that is being used for the Georgia elections, and people are making posts right now. We are going to hear a little bit more about the Democracy Center project, and notice that is now officially part of my presentations, because as we move from election season, we will be moving into more of a training, advocacy, and smaller election season. And then also the Vote Equality Campaign. Board member Katie Hornung will be joining us from the RVG down in Georgia, and Reverend Rodney Sadler will be joining us talking about one of the programs that we will be sharing through the Democracy Centers. And we are also a technology company. We'll be talking about a new little piece of technology we put together for Georgia voters. We have an agenda for tonight. So I'm doing the welcome. Then we're going to get a report from Georgia. Katie, who is on the ground in the RVG, will be talking about what's going on there. Noel D'Amico from the Workers Circle has some amazingly exciting news. Hopefully, Reverend Terrence Dick will be joining us. He is a member of the Richmond County Board of Elections, and they were sued. And he will hopefully have an update on the lawsuit. Gabriel will give us an update on our phone banks. And then we're going to talk about the democracy centers. So Reverend Rodney Sadler, our board co-chair, is here to talk about the Truth, Reconciliation, and Atonement Project and what that means. And then Julius Johnson, who will be our very, very, very first host of a democracy center in Hawkinsville, Georgia, is joining us tonight as well. So here's my report, and I'm going to go at this fairly quickly. I have updated all 17 billboards in Georgia so that they now say U.S. Senate and Public Service Commissioner runoff election. And instead of saying early voting starts on December 14th, they now say early voting has started. Um, we have delivered, what is it now, 50,000 PPEs to the great state of Georgia. Ray over at Atlanta NAACP was kind enough to send me a photograph of what 25,000 PPE kits look like. And they are already distributing these throughout Georgia. We had another 25,000 masks for Black Voters Matter go to Augusta, where the Augusta Interfaith Church will be helping to distribute those with Black Voters Matter. And then we have another 50,000 masks coming for the Atlanta NAACP, because in spite of COVID, they are doing a lot of canvassing in Georgia. Now, one of the new projects that we did, so a huge shout out to Josie, to Nancy, to Brian, to Gabe, and Howard, and all the team that worked on loading the data. We had a number of people complain about trying to utilize the map that we had of all the drop boxes. They wanted something where they could search by county. So Deepak very, very quickly put together a glide application. We very quickly loaded all the drop boxes in. Huge copy and paste job that we did literally in 2 days. And that app is now up and running. We have it both in our texting scripts and also in our phone bank scripts. So anybody who gets and looks at the PowerPoint that will be posted in the Slack or anything else, you will be able to go and look up the drop boxes. Since we can have another tab, we are looking at what we would put on the other page. We have updated See Something, Say Something, because we're only running an election now in Georgia. So it now is georgia.csay2020.com. So when people go there, the map is simply the map of Georgia rather than being a map of the entire United States. So again, all billboards are in the process of being updated to this if they have not already gone live. And now I'm going to bring Katie up because the RVG is back in Georgia. She got back there on Sunday night just in time for the start of early voting.
Thank you. Oh, I might be frozen. Can you hear me?
We hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, it looks like I'm frozen, but here I am, and it is freezing here in Georgia. It will be down below freezing tonight, so hopefully no issues with staying warm on the RVG. I've actually moved some pillows to the window that's above the headboard on the bed because it is so cold outside, and you don't realize what it is to be in a fairly not insulated vehicle to sleep at night until it's like 25. So having fun, but luckily I'm at a beautiful state park. I'm plugged in, so I have heat and electricity. And you know, honestly, this is not really roughing it. So I shouldn't get any sympathy on that. So we had a great week. Early voting kicked off in Georgia on Monday, and we were in 2 votercade parades on Monday. We were first up in Augusta working with League of Women Voters, the Deltas, AKAs, Divine Nine, Black Voters Matter, a number of religious groups doing the John Lewis votercades that the Transformative Justice Coalition has put together. One of our top leads in Vote Equality US also wears a hat with Transformative Justice Coalition, and she was organizing all of the parades around the state. And so we just really wanted to support her in this. So we were doing that in Augusta, and then cut out kind of as the festivities at the fish fry were kicking off to make it down to Savannah. The Savannah votercade was fantastic. It was kind of put together by the People's Agenda, League of Women Voters, and their local Black Voters Matter group as well. And in that one, I think it was the women with League of Women Voters had really great connections, and we had 6 or 8 cop cars really seriously blocking off the highways and the streets. I mean, you would have thought we had some royalty among us. And so whether they were just practicing for when somebody really comes to town, or if they thought we were really that big a thing, but that motorcade went through every single neighborhood. We went through at least 3 kind of HUD housing projects areas. And we, honking, and people started coming out and waving from their porches. And it was a really great, that one was just really spectacular. Then on Tuesday, we stayed in Savannah and did some LGBT plus outreach. The 28th Amendment, which people frequently will talk about as far as a women's rights amendment, it is actually all means all, y'all. And so with the Bostock decision at the Supreme Court, we know that the LGBT plus community would be covered in this amendment. And that would be really important for their Human Rights Act that they're trying to get passed through Congress. So we did that in the morning, and then in the afternoon, and that was with the People's Agenda. We had in a number of organizers from multiple cities for the People's Agenda, all working in Savannah that day. And then in the afternoon, we were in a rural county that is really red compared to everything else surrounding it. And they have a little fledgling crowd that is really pushing this conversation about equality. And so it was really important to go to this particular space and kind of set up camp and support them in that. And then yesterday we had another votercade in Macon working with the People's Agenda, Georgia Equality, and a couple other groups. That votercade was a little more quiet than the other 2 had been. And it's always, it's always fun to show up and just see what the personality of that particular event, how it's going to unfold. But they set up their fish fry actually at the polling station, at a polling station that has a lot of people who are food insecure. And so that was actually a really fun, lots of people were getting fed after they had voted that day. So that was super fun. The New Georgia project, sadly, has their whole Macon office is in quarantine. I was going to go work with them a little bit today, but none of them are allowed to go anywhere. They've all been quarantined at home for some period of time. So it is a reminder that yes, it is a pandemic. Yes, we have to be very careful. I was about ready to hit the idiot yesterday who was not wearing a mask. I was like, who are you? What are you doing? So yeah, staying as safe as possible while still doing the work is really the plan. And I've had kind of today and tomorrow are my down days for doing some administration work and kind of working from the RV. And then on Saturday, I've got 1 or 2 votercades in the Atlanta area. There are just a lot of bodies in Atlanta to get out to vote. And so it's important to also go into those very urban spaces besides the rural support that we've been doing. So, and then I should give a shout out to the other team, the alternate team with Reclaim Our Vote that comes on the RV. They're going to be down here in January for Election Day. My understanding is they're leaving the day before. They're leaving the day before Lorna's birthday. So she's going to be celebrating her 60th birthday on the RVG, hanging out in Georgia, getting ready for the actual election day, push to the polls. They'll kind of run around in the rural south of Macon area. They'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday and Tuesday with kind of a gearing up, and then the actual election day. And then Wednesday, Thursday, they're going to start helping to cure ballots. I'm talking tomorrow with somebody who has access to the cured ballot or the ballot data of who needs to be cured. And I'm going to be talking to him about, can we get the data for all voters of color who have ballots that need to be cured, so that we can be working with the large coalition that Reclaim Our Vote has built and that Center for Common Ground has, so that if we can get that data, then we can work in some of these rural areas to make sure that voters of color's ballots are cured. And so the RVG crew will be helping with that Wednesday, Thursday. And then on Friday, the goal is to have them up in kind of the northern rural part of Georgia, so that they're a little bit more headed towards home. And I'm seeing some of the chat. Macon is not conservative. It's in the Black Belt, and there are a lot of just really great people doing really great work in this area. And especially when you go more into the suburbs and then into the rural areas, there's still, there are a lot of voters of color. Some are registered, some are not, some are getting out to vote, some are not. So it's really important for people just to have all these conversations. So anyway, thank you for giving me the minute for the update. And unless anybody has any questions, I'm done.
All right, and thank you very much, Katie. We're going to hold questions to the end. I'm going to do a shout out to Christiane and Lorna, who will be part of the crew that goes down for Election Day. Thank you very much for joining us. So again, what we found is with a giant, some people say it's pink, other people say it's light purple,
It's
whatever.
lavender. It is
All right,
lavender.
it's lavender, 27-foot RV. It's kind of hard for people not to notice it, especially when it tends to go and visit rural spaces. And it is an event kind of unto itself.
Mhm.
So, Katie, thank you for taking time away from your family. And what? This is your second trip this election cycle, right?
Yep, yep. This is my second trip to Georgia too. I was down here on my first trip, so
Yep.
fun. It's fun. I mean, these are our friends now, right?
Yes, yes, they are. Yes, they are. All right. Thanks, Katie. I am going to introduce a new friend. It is Noelle, and she is with the Workers Circle. So, Noelle has an amazing announcement. I know it kind of took me back to my teenage years. So, Noelle, floor is yours.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm Noelle D'Amico and the Director of Social Justice at the Workers Circle, and we have been absolutely thrilled to be in partnership with the Center for Common Ground. We were new to the field of voting rights work, and we jumped on board in, I guess, around September and began phone banking for the November election and have been phone banking up a storm for the Georgia runoffs. And we have been doing outreach to see if we could get some well-known folks to do phone banking with us and draw more attention to the important work that the Center for Common Ground is doing, and importantly, get as many people as possible phone banking to voters of color. And if it's okay, Andrea, I'm going to share my screen and let the announcement do its work that way.
All right. I'm loving it.
I am really, let's see, I've got a bunch of windows. Let's see if this works. I am really happy to share with all of you that on Tuesday night, Mark Hamill is going to be doing a phone bank with us from 7 to 8 p.m. in the evening. Mark Hamill, as you know, sort of needs no introduction, better known as Luke Skywalker. So you can invite everyone you know to be the force for voting rights, to get out there, to make those calls on Tuesday night. We have a little post that is posted already to the Worker Circle Facebook page. Share it, share it, share it. The bit.ly there will take you to a page where you can register. The bit.ly is Force for Voting Rights, where people can register for this Facebook. And it's our sincere hope that by garnering a wide public attention to this, that will draw more and more people, not just to the Georgia phone banking that's going on, but to the mission that the Center for Common Ground has, and the important work of building democracy centers and the constitutional right to vote and all of that work. We know the election is just to get us to that place where we can make democracy truly by, with, and for the people. And so as the Workers Circle, we are thrilled to be a part of this. We're hoping that perhaps we'll have a few more celebrities. We don't know. You know, you never know these things till they finally confirm. But we're very excited side. For those of you who are organizations and would like to cross-post, in addition to the Zoom, we have 1,000-person Zoom room set up. In addition to the Zoom, we're going to live stream to Facebook. And tomorrow I'm going to have an organizational page up. And Andrea, I'll send you that link and you share it far and wide. Anybody who wants to co-sponsor, if you want to cross broadcast the Facebook Live so that we can reach even more people, please do it. And I should probably pause just there and say, let me just say that for the Workers Circle, you may say, what is this Workers Circle? Who is this Workers Circle group? Are they laborers? Who are they? The Workers Circle is a secular Jewish organization that focuses on social justice and promotes Yiddish culture and language learning. We're interesting, this sort of fun fact, we're the largest Yiddish language provider in the world right now, with more than 1,000 people taking Yiddish language. And while it's a secular Jewish organization, you don't have to be Jewish to be a part. The interesting thing, this may tell you a lot of what you need to know about the Workers Circle. They hired me. I happen to be a minister ordained in the United Church of Christ to direct their social justice work. So that's the kind of outward, collaborative, wonderful force that the Workers Circle is. It's been around for 120 years. It was founded by Eastern European immigrants who were Jewish, fleeing persecutions and exclusions in Russia and Poland, and who formed the bedrock, really the backbone in many senses, of what became the modern labor movement. The uprising of the 20,000 that happened in the New York City garment district, that was the Workers Circle. And so we have a wonderful radical history. We share progressive values with everybody on the phone. We're delighted to be a partner with you. We're a 501c3. So we just love that this work is being done under that banner. I want to do a shout out to my friend and dear colleague, the Reverend Dr. Rodney Sadler, who is instrumental in introducing me to Andrea and thus Workers Circle to this work. Rodney, we can't thank you enough. We are so delighted that your important work with truth, reconciliation, and atonement committees is gonna go nationwide. We're so psyched about that. And I think I'll leave it there, except to say, I look forward to continued work with all of you. And thank you, Andrea, for this opportunity to share a little bit of what's coming next week. And we look forward to our ongoing work together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Noelle, for all you do. I admit I'm going to be one of those silly people that's going to be on that Zoom on Tuesday. Thank you so much for hosting so that I can just sit in the background and relive my 16-year-old self watching Star Wars.
That's wonderful. Thank you again for having me tonight. And friends, I also teach at NYU, and I have a stack of papers and final projects this high. So I'm going to quietly leap off in a few minutes. But again, my appreciation to be with you. And I hope to see so many of you on our fabulous Zoom coming up next Tuesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks.
Thank you, Noelle. All right, Reverend Dix, I see you're here. You're joining us on the phone. Say hello. Let's see if we can hear you.
Greetings, everybody. How are you?
Hi, we are great. We are great. I invited Reverend Dix, who is a member of the Richmond County Board of Elections, to join us tonight to give us a little brief update on the latest lawsuit over absentee voting and exact signature match and what is going on in Georgia. Terrence, take it away.
Thank you. But before I go into that, Andrea, I just want to personally thank you and the Center for Common Ground, and of course, Reclaim Our Vote, for all the powerful moves that you've made throughout the Southeast, and they have all been necessary, and they've all been successful. And so I just want to personally thank you again. And with that, I'll go ahead and move into it. About 4 or 5 days ago, we were told by the Secretary of State to prepare for a lawsuit that was going to be filed against our county for. Well, I'll just be brief. I thought it was strictly exact match or absentee ballot. Oh, no. It had to do with our drop boxes. They thought that people were stuffing the drop boxes or something. Whatever was in their imagination of what was going on. I personally pay no attention to certain challenges, because if there's anything wrong, and Andrea knows me, if there's anything wrong, I'll be the first one to point it out and say, why are we doing something stupid like that? Or why are we allowing something stupid like that? And so I think people are so used to me making those observations that they don't let those kind of things happen. So I was very confident that our Board of Elections were following the law to the letter. And Judge Randy Hall, who is a former lawmaker, summarily this afternoon quickly dismissed that case based on the Purcell principle, which, by the way, has to do with the fact that you cannot change voting laws in the middle of an election. And so however we can get these things behind us, I'm all for that. But it was just basically, Andrea, people trying to throw something up against the wall in a 68-page petition to try to overturn the vote. And we we're just not going to hear it. And of course, we were singled out because we are a minority city, county. So that was what was going on. I mean, I guess you could say, Andrea, we were the Wayne County of the South. So with that, if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But otherwise, I'm right here, and I'll be here till the end of the call. Thank you so much again, Andrea. And I really appreciate it. And thank you for this opportunity, and thank everybody for what they've been doing. Thank you.
All right. Reverend Dix, thank you so very much. He is on the Board of Elections of Richmond County, Georgia. The city of Augusta is in Richmond County. Richmond County is, I sometimes look at it as the gateway to the Black Belt. So Richmond County. So thank you, Reverend Dix, for giving us an update on as yet another frivolous, pointless lawsuit. So again, may we keep winning. All right, now let's see. Ooh, can't believe I didn't do that. I am going to make you a co-host. Gabriel, go ahead and let us know how we're doing on phone banking, and then we're going to wrap up Georgia.
All right, thanks, Andrea. We are looking pretty good on phone banking, but it's about to get even better. We have made almost 200,000 calls total into Georgia for the runoff. And of those, 77,000 have been get out the vote, and 120,000 have been registration phone calls. But the most exciting part of this is our finest phone banks we have ever produced are before us right now. And partially because we have this new PDI platform that we've had for a couple of weeks, and partially because we are partnering with Black Voters Matter, and we have received a high quality list of ballot of voters who have indicated that they want to vote absentee. So we are on that particular phone bank, which is prioritized right now. We have a 72% contact rate, which is amazing, because so it's an extremely high quality list of data, and this is the phone bank that we're going to be focusing on. For until it gets called through, we've got about we have 40,000 people in that list. So hop on board. It's going to take all of us. I also wanted to quickly announce that the phone bank team is hosting a Friday guided phone bank tomorrow and every Friday except for Christmas, of course, until the 5th, and I'm posting that link in the chat. And also, one more thing that we have to look forward to besides this Mark Hamill event on Tuesday with the Workers Circle, which is super exciting, is we're going to do another Callapalooza. So for those of you who remember the insanity of that 2-day phone banking marathon before November 3rd, we made something like 86,000 calls in 2 days.
87, but what's 1,000
87.
call among friends?
But who's counting? So we're going to try and replicate that in the weekend before January 5th. Who knows whether we'll actually get to 86,000, but it's going to be a final surge. So we don't have that sign up yet, but I just wanted to put that out there so you have it in your mind. And yeah, we're going to keep grinding all the way up till the 5th.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I'm going to invite my second board member. He's actually our board co-chair, Reverend Rodney Sadler, to talk about the program that he has put together and has been piloting locally. One of my very, very strong beliefs is that because there are conversations that we have never had here in the United States, just because the election is over does not mean that we can just magically come together. We are going to need to actively work on it to really get to resolve some very, very deep underlying issues that are literally at the heart and soul of the US and America. So Rodney, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It is wonderful to be with you. Before I say anything, I have to say, Andrea Miller is one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met in my life. And the fact that I remember this as an idea, as a conception several years ago, and now to see how active it is and how it's impacting elections across our nation, but particularly here in the American South, it's amazing. I just want to say, all of us hail the great Andrea Miller. I'm here tonight to talk a bit about a project that we've been working on for some time. In the state of North Carolina, we have, during the Obama administration, a group of us had come together to work on a project called the TRACS Project, which was the Truth, Reconciliation, and Atonement Commission. And we decided that we have long dealt with in America individual instances of racism. A police officer shoots a young man, we have a protest about it, we change laws, we put a camera on cops, and then 3 months later, a police officer shoots another young man. We change policies in schools because we see that minority communities are struggling to pass with the current curriculum. We make it 2 or 3 shifts, and then we find out next year the problem persists. And the issue for me is that we constantly deal with issues of racism, but we never deal with the fundamental issue. And the fundamental issue is the concept of race itself. The concept of race itself undermines the potential for equality. The concept of race itself has inherent in it the notion that there is a hierarchy of humanity where some are better than and others worse than. Some are entitled to more rights and privileges, others entitled to fewer rights and privileges. The concept of race developed in this nation was a way of determining who had access to wealth, power, and privilege. So we decided that we need to begin to do more than just look at single one-off issues of racism, and begin to look at this as a whole holistic kind of concept. It is a systemic problem and it needs a systemic solution. So we began again after this year, we dealt with the George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor uprisings. We said that we need to begin to take a look at this in a holistic fashion. We started something called the Reimagining America Project, Truth, Reconciliation, and Atonement Commission for Charlotte. And what this was a way of helping people to realize that race continues to impact people's lives in a significant way. We might talk about the way that people are voting and the way that voting suppression laws tend to be targeted at Black and Brown communities. We might talk about it in terms of healthcare. We know what's going on with Black people and Latino people succumbing, both gaining and succumbing to COVID at much higher rates. But this truly is a larger systemic issue that we need to deal with. So what RapTrack is a two-pronged approach to begin to address the issue of race in America. The first prong is a hearings track, and the hearings track has enabled us to begin to look at the way that race impacts people. So hearing from people, mothers whose children have been killed by police officers, African-American young men who spend a good deal of their time in prison, African-American people who have lived their lives in poverty and find themselves homeless in the midst of the pandemic. Let's hear about the way that race has shaped their lives, the way that they are, we think about this being a meritocracy, but the fact that being born in Black and brown skin means that you don't get to contribute at an equal level as your white or other skinned partners. So the hearing panel is meant to help people to become sensitive, both in the head and in the heart, to the breadth and depth of this larger issue. The second track is a modes of redress track. And what this is committees that will begin to work to look at the various systems that exist in our larger society and find out how they contribute to the racialization and racial disparities. So what does it look like if we reimagine healthcare or reimagine the education system? The way that we look at policing and police misconduct, the court system, criminal justice system. How about we examine all of these systems and then talk about the way that they're interrelated? I'm a veteran of the Moral Mondays movement. I believe in fusion politics, and all of these issues are fundamentally interrelated. So how do we look at the way that these things are interrelated and begin to make those targeted shifts in our larger society that will begin to help us move towards a more just society? Ultimately, the goal of RapTrack is to reimagine America, i.e., we can never be the nation that says it holds these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal, while at the same time holding the idea that race is a real and valid idea because the concept of race inherently suggests inequality. We need to move beyond that if we are to be the best America we can be, the truest nation that we can be, and finally live up to the justice that is part of our national credo. I will leave us off with that. This is where we are in Charlotte. I'm going to take a couple more minutes. In Charlotte, we started off on October the 22nd with our first commission hearing. We were able to interview 3 different types of witnesses. Number 1 were historical witnesses to establish the larger context to the way that race has worked to disadvantage people in society. Number 2 were impacted witnesses, those who have experienced firsthand the results of a racialized system. And number 3 were confessing witnesses. Confessing witnesses are largely white people who have lived within the system, recognize the problematic nature of the way that it treats Black and brown folk, and have found ways to atone within the larger system. If you listen to our name, Truth, Reconciliation, and Atonement Commission, you'll hear that it's not about reparations. If we gave every African-American tomorrow enough money to be a Kardashian, there would still be African-Americans who would drive down the street, be pulled over by police officers, and face the problematic nature there. We still have the problems in our schools. So it is fundamentally about economics, but it's not only about economics. We need to atone for systemic modes of creating disparity. So the notion of atonement means that every one of our systems need to be examined, reworked, and reimagined if we are to have the kind of America that we'd like to have. I'm so glad that we will be working with the larger, working with Andrea, working with this larger group here in order to make sure that we are able to spread this idea far and wide. My ultimate goal is that this won't be just a Charlotte experience. We're working in partnership with Rabbi Mark Gopin at the George Mason, Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter Center for Justice and Reconciliation. And we're hoping to figure out a way to spread this around the country. We need to have local manifestations, and we also need a national manifestation of this if we are to achieve the kind of objectives that we'd like to see. And I just want to say that in order to achieve the goals that we'd like to see, it will take all of us. So I invite each and every one of you that's here tonight, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, your larger networks, to get involved in this work. We need to do this if we are to have the kind of just society that we need. I will end by just saying this. I know I'm a Black preacher. I always say I'm going to end and then keep going. We'll end by saying this. We need to recognize that the way that voting has manifested, we need every person to be able to fully participate. And when we don't have the full partition of Black and brown voters, as we've seen in the state of Georgia, we see the way that elections can turn. When we turn them out, the way that Stacey Abrams and the work that we've done has helped to increase the numbers of voters there, it helps us all out. By addressing the issue of race, it will help us all out. We will all find ourselves in a much better position. So I really do invite us all to work together in partnership around this issue. Thank you so much, and God bless. If there are any questions, Andrea, I turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Rodney. There have been a lot of questions in the chat. Rodney and I, we will be convening a Faith Partners table. As many of you know, we have a number of national faith partners, the Religious Action Center on Reform Judaism, the Unitarian Universalist are our partners, United Church of Christ, Reverend Marvin Silver, who I work with as part of my conference, is moving to national. So we will be able to elevate the conversation there so we can begin with our faith partners and then spread it out to all of our other partners, our indivisible and swing left and sister district chapters, people that just have their own local groups who want to understand more about why are things the way they are. We are dealing with a wound that has been festering for 400 years. It is about time we treated it. And this will be a way to do that. We will also be bringing this programming in to local democracy centers as well. So yes, as I said, when we started the organization, we are looking for solutions that will be long lasting. We're not looking for a solution just for one election. And then when the next election comes, we discover absolutely nothing has changed for the better. Things have continually gotten worse. So we're going to be working on that. And I will pull the link for that on Facebook so that everyone will actually, everyone who signed up, you will be getting notes from Nancy. So when Nancy sends out the notes, we will include the appropriate links in the notes. And now I want to bring up, let me find him, make sure he's still here. One last person, Julius, I'm asking you to unmute. There he is. Julius will be our first in-state local democracy center partner. He is in Hawkinsville, Georgia. And the team of the RVG, Christiane, was very, very excited when they originally met Julius when they were in Georgia, back in late October, or I'm losing track of when you guys went down. I mean, there's so much back and forth. Actually, when you met Julius in November, I will have an opportunity to meet him in person on Saturday. So, Julius, you can tell us all hi.
Hi, Andrea. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you and we see you.
Okay. Well, I am honored to be on the call with such beautiful, warm-hearted people. And I send greetings from the people of Hawkinsville to all of you. Hawkinsville is the home of harness horse racing. We are an old town in Pulaski County. We're about 40 minutes south of Macon, Georgia. We're, like I said, the home of harness horse racing. We're right on the Okmulgee, the old Okmulgee River, the muddy river. And we're just thrilled to be a part of what you are doing. As you mentioned, Christiana, Katie, and Lorna came down, and you can see from my virtual background there, that's a photograph that we took from across the street. There's the RVG and the Black Lives Matter van.
Black Voters Matter.
Yes, and they came down and we met local barbers, beauticians, local leaders. And we went by the boat landing. I showed them the old Okmulgee, and it was such a powerful, powerful experience. My family goes back to 1818 in Pulaski County, Georgia. You know, we're an old family. We purchased land there in 1873, and most of the families in Hawkinsville and Pulaski County have been there a very long time. So we all know each other, and we have a very intimate relationship across races in Pulaski County. What's phenomenal is there's no racial tension in Pulaski County. And it's really interesting because there's racial inequality. There's racial inequality, and there are a number of issues that need to be addressed, but there's no racial tension. And that's a fascinating occurrence. And it's because we are so interdependent on one another. You will find white Newberries and black Newberries, white Bryants and black Bryants. The last names cut across both races because we've been in this landlocked area for so many years that we all know each other. And in the South, we had a place. African Americans were given a place. It was an unequal place, but it was a place. And as long as you stayed in your place, you were okay and you could raise your children and live your life. And so so that's a part of the culture there. But we all know each other, we all get along, but we have so much work to do. We're located, the Newberry Foundation, right in the heart of historic Hawkinsville, Georgia. That's our building in the background. And we've been there since 2013. And one of the reasons why we're so welcome there is because of our long-standing history in the town. The first thing you're asked when you come into Hawkinsville is, what is your last name? Who are your people? They want to know. And as soon as they say, oh, you're so-and-so's grandson, come in here, boy, and have a seat. Come in here and have a seat. And that's white, black, and it's it's a fascinating place, but in so many ways, the intimacy provides hope and opportunity, particularly with this next generation. So we are poised and we are ready to be the first democracy center to work with you, Andrea, and your team to do the work after the election. You see, Hawkinsville and rural Georgia, we are slow moving people. We don't move fast. It's cotton country, it's peanut country, it's soybeans, it's cows, and there are cycles to farming. And so things take time. People got to get to know you. You got to build trust. And so having those institutes that are there for the long haul after the fancy RVG goes and the high-heeled, Ivy Leaguers from the North go, we're going to be down there. And we're in those cotton fields and those peanut fields, and we're at the local coffee shops and huddle houses and churches talking to one another. And that's where I think the real work has to be done after the election. So we're ready to serve. We are ready to serve, Black and white together, to be a force in Middle Georgia. And so our website is thenewberryfoundation.org, thenewberryfoundation.org. And I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, Andrea, and thank you for this incredible partnership. And remember, we're for the long term. Those folks in the South have long memories, and when you got a friend, you got a friend for life. So you can't leave us.
Oh, and that is the idea, that we will be there forever. So again, Julius, thank you so very much for taking time to join us tonight on literally very, very, very short notice. And really do want to call out our team, that it was Christiane and Lorna and Jen. They are a team. Katie's kind of a lone wolf, likes to get in that big RV and, drive around on our own.
I'm trying to avoid having to quarantine over Christmas Day so I can see my kids.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Well, and
Andrea,
that's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Andrea, they were amazing. They were rock stars. They were just incredible. It was these three women from Virginia with this purple RVG, like in the right downtown, just meeting people, going into barbershops, drinking coffee, getting to know the locals. And it was inspiring. It was inspiring.
All right. Thank you very, very, very much. And because we are getting into the holidays, I am going to say it's time for us to go. And our next Zoom, I may do one before the beginning of the year if we have more exciting news like Julia's. Otherwise, we will put our heads down, we'll make our phone calls, we'll do the work we need to do. Katie and the RVG, they will meet people, they will be in voter caves. We have come so far. January 5th will be here very soon, and then the work really begins, because what we are talking about doing in the Democracy Center space, when I look around the country, we don't see anybody else really doing that. We see groups that want to control local people. That is not what we are about in a Democracy Center. We are about empowering. What do they need to do? We will bring some national issues, and we will bring information that local people will then leverage to accomplish their local goals. And once people learn their power, feel their power, are able to give voice to their power, we don't need to go down there and ask them to vote. They will know their power and they will see the results. So I am going to say,
That is so powerful. Yes, yes,
yes,
yes,
yes, yes, yes. We are the wind beneath your wings. We are not your wings. There's a difference. All right, everybody. It has been wonderful. Thank you all so very much for joining us tonight. Rodney, thank you. Katie, thank you. Terrence, thank you. Noel is already on to other things. Noel, thank you. As I told you, we just had so many people working tonight. Gabriel, thank you every single day for literally helping us bring up a whole new phone bank system and making that system even better than the one that we had been using for years. So thank you, everybody. And the PowerPoint will be in the Slack. Nancy's already got it. And the recording will be in the Slack in a couple of days. So everybody, take care. I'll probably see almost all of you on the 22nd. Some of us do actually have to make phone calls, but
Thank you and happy holidays, Andrea.
hey,
God bless you.
happy